Hey friends, just a heads up that there is a pretty frank discussion of suicide in this episode, as well as just some darker conversations than we normally have just because of the content of this movie. So if you're not looking for that today, we might not be the best listen for you, but otherwise, strap in. It's Screonk, a Godzilla movie marathon where we're stomping through Godzilla's filmography. I'm Derek, and I've seen all the Godzilla movies.
And I'm Doug. I've seen 29 Godzilla movies.
And we're talking about the 34th film in the Godzilla franchise, the 4th film in the Reiwa era, and the 3rd and final film in the anime trilogy, Godzilla, the Planet Eater. Also known as Gojira Hoshi wo Kumono, which is the correct translation, Godzilla the Planet Eater. Released in Japan on November 9th, 2018, and on Netflix on January 9th, 2019. Again, 6 months after the previous film was released. All the people we recognize, directed by Kubun Shizuno and Hiroyuki Sashida, written by Gen Urobuchi, produced by Keiji Oda, scored by Takayuki Hattori. And we'd like to take a quick moment to thank our spectacular patrons, Bo, Carl, Katie, Jason, Zoe, James, Keith, Cody, Toby, Hamish, Blake, Jace, Jojak, David W., David A., Russ, and Christian.
Thank you.
Finally, I'm not lying. I actually have seen all the Godzilla movies as of this movie.
Woo! You did it.
Yay. And it was, you know what? It is kind of special because this is dating our recording of it a little bit, but I watched it at the end of Godzilla Day on November 3rd. So that's how ended my Godzilla Day, was by finally watching the one Godzilla movie that I've never actually seen before.
Yeah.
And it was such a satisfying, beautiful way to end my Godzilla Day. A coworker asked me today, who is a Godzilla fan, but not like a deep Godzilla fan, just someone who just grew up with Godzilla movies and stuff, like asked me like, oh yeah, Godzilla Day, did you like watch any Godzilla movies? And I lied and said no, because they didn't want to have to explain the anime trilogy to him.
Oh boy. I mean, it's a tough thing to explain.
Right. And be like, yeah, I mean, I watched one movie from the anime trilogy. I don't know if you know, there's a Netflix one. It's animated. It's like kind of like this. And the last movie is like a weird like horror movie that I like didn't really like, but also maybe is my favorite one out of the three of them, even though I don't know. What are your thoughts on this one, Doug? On
this one?
Yeah.
Derek, this movie fucking pisses me off.
I'm
like pissed off.
Like,
I feel like maybe people who love these movies don't feel this way. I feel like I've been fair to these movies. I feel like I have ended both the first and second with like optimism and been like, hey, maybe by the time I see the whole thing, I'll sort of get the vision. I'll sort of understand the vibe and sort of, be able to make a case for it or whatever. And look, the things I like about these movies, I will continue to say I like about these movies, but this pissed me off.
Okay. What's so funny though, and I don't know where you will land. I still think this is my favorite one out of the three, but the things that I hate in it, I really, really hate like a lot. Like leaving this movie, I posted this on my Blue Sky. You may or may not have seen it, but like one of my favorite Simpsons things is like from Krusty gets canceled and they like show like a weird cartoon and it cuts to Krusty after the cartoon is over and he's sitting there with a fucking cigarette hanging out of his mouth, wide-eyed, sits there and it's like a perfect like long pause, just staring, takes the cigarette out of his mouth and just says, "What the hell was that?" Like, yeah, I fucking love that gif. That is what I said when the fucking hit credits. This is what I said after the end credits scene, actually.
Yeah.
That is what I did verbatim after I sat through all the fucking credits, got to the end credit scene. I just said, what the hell was that? That was the feeling leaving off this movie. And I kind of feel like that's maybe the general vibe of the movie is what the hell was that?
I mean, if you might walk away from this trilogy with this being your favorite, you're going to have to help me a lot.
Favorite as in I think it maybe has the most fucking wild, interesting stuff in it, and visually it's crazy. I'm not saying that doesn't mean I endorse anything.
No, I'm not saying you are.
Does.
I'm not saying you are. I think I'm more saying this is not my favorite of the three.
Okay, sure.
And I don't know. I don't want to say maybe I'll watch this again because I don't think I'm going to watch this again anytime soon. But watching this movie, I just kept getting mad, being like, what are we doing?
Yeah, oh, sure.
What are we doing?
Sure.
You know, like I've invested 3 hours into this trilogy already. What are we doing?
You've invested way more than 3 hours into this trilogy.
Well, I mean, like, yeah, I guess because I was saying that, like, not that deep into the movie.
I'm pretty sure you're thinking when the fucking space station just explodes and everyone dies, right? Like that was my first sort of like, maybe this is just going to be really bad the whole way through. Well, although then I'm thinking of like, wait, when did that happen in proportion to like, there's some real fucked up stuff in this movie that I think is just sucks and is just, there's some points in this movie where I'm like, I think this movie is just like doing evil actually to the world.
I think the reason I say you're going to have to help me is because like I just like last week I had like clear thoughts about specific things that happen in the movie and was like thinking about those things and being like, wow, this is like an interesting thing. I might not like how they did it, but here's what I would have done with it. I think it could have transformed it, you know, in this particular way. I just did not enjoy watching this movie. I was so disappointed constantly at how little was like happening. Maybe that's not fair, but like there's just like the problem I had last week with the questions and the just talking. I'm like, does this movie think I'm stupid? Like, I don't
probably, yeah.
I don't know. Maybe it's because I was trying really hard to like be optimistic and open to what this was doing that I feel like burned a little bit. Yeah. But this kind of pissed me off.
My whole reason that and again, when I say it's my favorite movie out of the trilogy, it's like all like -10s for these movies.
Yeah, just if you had to rank them.
-9. And it's purely based on the fact that I think what I like about this movie is that it is a full-on cosmic horror story. It's like weirdly Lovecraftian in a way that the other two are not. And I think the other two, my biggest problem with them beyond a lot of problems, my biggest one is they're fucking boring. This movie, I do agree with you that like a lot of times there's just nothing happening, but it's not as boring as the last. Like it's still the same pacing problem, but I don't think it's as boring as the last one because because I do think at least the sense of dread and weird visual shit because of the cosmic horror aspect, at least I found kind of compelling, even if I thought it was like not well done. Do you know what I mean?
I hear the words you're saying and I know what they mean. I
think the cosmic horror of it. I do think
fighting
the cosmic
myself
horror of it all. I think is compelling on its own because I didn't expect that to be what this movie went with, and it is full cosmic horror, like Lovecraftian. Here's a cult summoning our like eldritch god that you can't comprehend. That's like outer dimensional. That like you can't. That like bends reality around it. That you can't even fathom how to begin to consider what to do about it, other than just bend down and die. You know.
Their take on Ghidorah as an unknowable interdimensional being is a cool thing about this movie. It is not a 90-minute movie.
Well, I agree with you.
I got to the point where I was like an hour and 10 minutes into this movie, and I was like, what do you mean I only have 20 minutes left? We haven't done anything other than talk about the nature of this monster.
It is kind of insane that Godzilla stands in one place the entire time and never moves. This entire movie.
Way more than the first two movies, I was fighting myself to pay attention to this movie.
Sure. I think that's fair.
I feel like so burned by this movie. But I get what you're saying. I do understand what you're saying, though, that like this is not a 100% bad movie. There is a good idea in here, just like I said with the previous two movies. There are interesting ideas in here. I do think this might be the idea for me that was like the least capitalized on in comparison to the potential of the idea.
I guess it's just like I think the cosmic horror stuff just that works for me in general only because it was so unexpected and like it's something that isn't the fucking boring military shit of the first two, you know?
Sure.
And that was enough of a swerve for me to be like interested in it visually, even if every 10 minutes there would be something that made me madder than maybe I've ever been at a movie, like repeatedly. So, you know, I'm still like this. I'm not going to be defending shit in the movie. It's really just more like, some of the visual shit and the vibes enough to overcome how much I hated everything narratively. I think the movie does.
Yeah,
pretty much. That's pretty much what it comes down to for me.
And that's totally fair. And I totally get that. And I don't even necessarily just disagree with you outside of the part that like, it was not enough to keep me interested, but I do like that part.
Yeah. The only thing that I wanted to add production wise to this, it's from that same Gigazine interview that I was referencing a lot last week for the last movie. But just if you were ever wondering, of like, cause I do think that this movie does feel like a swerve from the first two. Like Ghidorah is set up and everything in an annoying way, but it's set up narratively. But I do think the level of like cosmic horror that this movie has, I don't feel like really feels in line with the first two.
Mm-hmm.
That was all the plan from the get-go. Like in that Gigazine interview, Urobuchi was specifically asked like, did the story ever change? Did it evolve as you all were writing it? You know, since you're writing 3 at once. And Urobuchi said it was completely consistent in that shape. There was a compromise plan put forward for a moment, but it was reverted to the original form. So there was a point when maybe someone either within the creative team or with Toho didn't like the idea for the last movie and where this all led to, but no matter what, it did eventually go back to what Urobuchi's first idea was that this is going to be the last movie, and it was going to end with Ghidorah as this cosmic horror being, and it was going to end with Haro committing suicide, essentially. That was always going to be the plan. And he said that is what you see in the movie is basically exactly the proposal that he sent to Toho like years before the movie was even in production. So
cool.
Yep. This was always what it was leading to, Doug. There was no, I mean, cause I could honestly, if you were to tell me,
couldn't tell from the 2 movies that set it up.
Cause I was going to say, like, if you were to tell me like there was some weird creative stuff behind the scenes and people weren't agreeing, and then the third movie, because like it's not uncommon for a third movie in a trilogy to like go in a fucking weird direction and be really divisive. That's like the most common story for trilogies, honestly. But the fact that like, no, this is what we wanted to do and we did it. Like, I don't know, man. Like this is the time when it's like a normal street seamless situation. Like, I don't know, man. It really just feels like out of nowhere that this is the last movie. I don't understand.
It's bizarre. Like I was saying last week that like there are things in last week's movie that made me like reminded me that like there are competent storytellers working on these movies, and whether I like how the whole thing turns out or not, I can't deny that like the people at least are skilled people, even if this is not it, right? I don't know why that doesn't come through. You knew this was going to be a 3 movie long story. I don't know why the cosmic horror should feel like such a divergence.
Yeah, I think this could have been, I don't know. I like the idea of cosmic horror in Godzilla. I think that's a really cool...
Me too.
I think that those things make sense, and I'm surprised that we haven't seen more of it, really. And I think especially if you're doing a Ghidorah story, cosmic horror with Ghidorah, I think... I absolutely see the vision for that. But yeah, it's weird that that's just not at all what it was up until
There's
this
no
point.
Lead up, no seeding, nothing we can look back at really and be like, oh my God,
it's like
we should have seen the cosmic horror coming.
I know this is such a basic bitch comparison to make, and it's going to mean nothing to you because you haven't seen it. And I know it's annoying, and I make comparisons to it all the time. I know it's annoying, but like Neon Genesis Evangelion is very influential, and a lot of things are influenced by it. And I was watching this and I was just like, I really think that they are just like doing like bad Evangelion, like like in a way where it's just like, I've watched stuff that's clearly very directly riffing off of it and like doing it in a good way and like pulling what makes Evangelion work and why it works for me. Like Digimon Tamers, that fucking last arc of it, very heavily inspired by both Lovecraft and Evangelion. like this movie, is obviously very inspired by Lovecraft and Evangelion, but like it does so in a way that integrates it into the world and into the characters in a way that actually like feels like it's the culmination of what it was leading to in the first place. This movie feels like it's like, oh yeah, you know, towards like the last like third of Evangelion, things got like really weird and kind of cosmic horror-y and got like really bleak, right? So I guess we'll just do that. And really bleak and like did a lot of like in your head stuff. So I guess we'll just do that rather than like actually looking at like the entire, you know, arc of what that series was doing and like what it worked. And also the fact that like a lot of that was very meaningful. And one of the things that I love about Evangelion and the end of Eva movie is like, it's a movie about going to the most like unfathomably bleak circumstance you could possibly be in, and then like coming back from that and being like, but you can still find hope and you can still lift yourself back up and move forward and like expect that you will eventually be able to be happy again. And like that is the thing you can do, which I find like really compelling and really beautiful and really meaningful and so like optimistic and like find it really beautiful. It frustrates me even more that then you watch this movie and it feels like it's kind of trying to do the same thing of like, we're so fucking bleak and it's so dark and so weird. And like, we're going to get like fucking just in the heads of these characters and just fucking just demolish them from the inside out and everything, and to explore all of their anxieties and all their character flaws on the inside and just bare their soul to you for what? Ultimately, it's just like, just to do it. Like, and you come out of this movie and it's like, what have I learned? What have the characters learned? By the end of this, Haruo is just sort of like, learn that he sucks and should die. Really is where this movie lands, I guess. We'll have to talk about that. It's just like, it ends up, it really is like this, when people complain about like too bleak, didn't care about this stuff, this is the kind of circumstance, because it's just like, you're making shit really horrifying just to horrify the audience and then feel bad and then be done, you know?
Yeah, I think it was for the first one. I can get behind bleak. I think you can do extremely bleak things extremely well. I think when it's like this, most of the time when people talk about something being too bleak, it's just that you didn't do it well. And I would just argue that like, this is not bleak done well. There's just a way to, you can pull it off. This is not it.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's talk about Ghidorah. I don't know. I do think the Ghidorah maybe is like the coolest thing about this movie, in my opinion, conceptually. Unless you disagree with that, maybe. I don't know.
No, I know. Derek could see me kind of like roll my eyes, not at you specifically, but just at like Ghidorah. It's like, Ghidorah's cool.
I think Ghidorah kind of fucks in this. Oh, go ahead.
I don't think Ghidorah fucks, okay. But all right. Well. I think Ghidorah in concept is cool. I like the idea that it is interdimensional being. I think it is cool that there is like a horror at them being unable to like kind of comprehend it. I do think it's nice that they then anchor that in some way and explain why it is that it can interact with Godzilla in the way that it can, but Godzilla can't necessarily interact back. I think that's cool. I think it makes sense that they can kind of explain like a lot about Ghidorah. I think it's cool that it emerges from black holes.
Yeah.
It bums me out that like we only see it tied to those black holes. And I know part of that is because it allows for Godzilla then to have a direct thing that like closes it up and like theoretically seals it back. But
that's interesting. I disagree with that personally, because I think it makes it a little eerier, because then it gives the sense that like this thing could be infinitely long. Like you never see a full body of it, and it could just keep coming out and keep coming out, keep coming out. And that's cool. Like that you never see the full body shot of it outside of like that one silhouette, I guess.
Yeah, I guess it is less actually that you don't see the full body, and more just that like I guess this is not Ghidorah's fault. They stand there for so long.
Well, I think
and
that
they just don't do anything for so long.
If this was like the penultimate episode of an anime where it's like 22 minutes of Ghidorah and Godzilla that's unresolved by the end of it, and that's like your big finale, and then you maybe have like one epilogue episode, I think it works. I think the problem is that it's a, hour 30-minute movie of basically just Ghidorah wrapping itself around Godzilla and just sitting there, basically.
Yes.
I do agree with that.
But yes, as a concept for a monster, I do think it is very, very cool. I'm not super into the final execution of its design, so that's where I have a hard time saying
I really love the design actually.
I don't hate the design. It's certainly not my least favorite monster design that we've seen. I don't know. There's something about it that feels a little too like, I don't know. I guess this kind of applies to Godzilla too, but like there's something that needs to break up some of these designs a little bit for me personally. So I don't know. I don't know what it is specifically, but there's a design element missing from Ghidorah. So I don't know. I'm not fully behind the final design. I feel like it is close to being a final design I could be into. But that's, as far as just like purely a monster design, that's really kind of my only gripe, I think.
Yeah. I like how unknowable it still feels, and that's just like this like never ending like noodle dragon that just sort of, again, I feel like it's kind of eerie the way it just like slowly floats around and never it feels incorporeal even before they figure out that it is.
I think you're right. I do agree with you on that.
I think that's really cool.
I agree. I like the idea of the impossibility of its scale. I think you're 100% right about that.
I think when they were developing the CG model, which like it's, you know, who knows what it is in universe, but when they're developing the CG model, they were envisioning it as being like 20 kilometers long, which is like, you know, pretty extreme. So
huge.
Yeah. They're like, would certainly be the biggest monster, I think, in the Godzilla universe. Right. So,
yeah, you
know, I think they were definitely thinking of that. Some of the design stuff they were thinking of is like Godzilla, they were thinking also plants for Ghidorah, and where Godzilla was riffing on trees, Ghidorah was riffing on like roses and plants with thorns, essentially, which is why he's kind of like a noodly, basically like a noodly stem covered in thorns. That's why he's all spiky and everything.
Yeah.
And I think that also that also lines up with like the idea of just the central theme being lightning, which obviously Ghidorah is very frequently associated with lightning. So I do think that thorn shape, but also when you put in that yellow color, it does feel like how you envision lightning to be, like a very like a sort of jagged triangular shapes and stuff too.
I like all these ideas. I think I'm going to have to think about whether I like it for Ghidorah. Maybe is part of it for me.
Really? I just like, cause I think that I don't know that I obviously I love Ghidorah being a 3-headed Eastern dragon. I think that's cool.
Yeah.
I'm always going to love that, and I'm always going to love any iteration on that. I do think though that like a lot of the ideas of Ghidorah that we've been presented with, of being just this cosmic force, this like planet eater thing, literally, this sort of thing that actually is like sort of all consuming and one of the most evil, scariest creatures, you know, in the universe, frequently is how he's deployed. I do think that like, because he's meant to sort of represent something bigger than just being a kaiju in the way that other kaiju are supposed to be, I kind of feel like I don't need him to just be constrained as being a 3-headed dragon. So if you're going to go in a direction of sort of representing like, what would a scary cosmic planet eating force that like aliens worship as a god, what would that feel like? And I do feel like this Ghidorah does feel very alien in that way, while still being like dragon-esque and yellow in the way that Ghidorah typically is. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I don't like disagree with the ideas is the struggle. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I am having a hard time marrying the idea of keeping it still a dragon enough to feel like Ghidorah, and the ideas that make it work as this unknowable planet eating monster.
Sure.
So like, I don't know where you land in making it feel more like a dragon. I know when you see it up close, it's unmistakably a dragon. But it's not giving dragon. When you see it from afar, and it's like this weird sort of like cosmic, these like cosmic tentacles basically like grabbing Ghidorah and consuming him.
Grabbing Godzilla. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I think, I don't know, some of the dragon is lost for me, but
sure,
whatever. I
can't
like the
believe,
ideas behind it, so it doesn't necessarily matter.
I can't believe that I'm the one being like, he doesn't need to be a dragon, and you're the one's like, no, he has to be a dragon. Like, that's shocking to me that we're in those opposite positions. But I think I like them trying to really visualize the eldritch horror, like Lovecraftian thing, because it's hard to do that often. It's hard to visualize a thing that is supposed to be something that will drive you mad at the revelation of seeing it. You know what I mean? Like,
well, and I think I like how they've depicted
right.
it. I'm having a hard time reconciling
with Ghidorah,
this being Ghidorah, even though in concept Ghidorah is this massive force.
Yeah,
you know, I don't know.
For me, it's also like one of the only times that these movies do, I think, what I wanted them to do, that we've talked about before, where if you're going to bring someone in who is not a Godzilla fan, that is just being like, don't do that, do something different. This is the one time where like they swerve away from a traditional Godzilla thing and into something like wildly interesting. Like, you can't deny that it's interesting.
There's a monster.
You know?
No, I'm not denying that at all. The best part of this movie is them turning Ghidorah into an unknowable cosmic being.
Yeah.
Like that idea and the choice to do that and depict that in any way, shape, or form, I think is the best part of this movie.
Yeah.
But to me, the stuff I like about this movie, like, effectively, like, ends with that idea. And because it kind of ends there, like, it's hard to convince me that this, like, lived up to its own idea. But I do agree with you. Like, I like that this is what you would expect from having somebody get the opportunity to, like, have your Godzilla buddy tell you, here's what Ghidorah is, and you'd be like, oh, I don't really know what that is, but here's a cool idea that made sense in my mind. Like, this is exactly that. And it's a fucking monster. It's actually a monster, you know? So, like, I'm happy about that.
Yeah.
I like it a lot. It is not satisfying if I want a monster to show up to oppose Godzilla in some way, shape, or form, I don't know that it's scratching that specific itch, but I do like what they are trying to do with it.
Yeah.
If separating those things makes any sense.
I will be curious, because currently the plan is that you're going to do the art for this episode, and I'm sure you haven't worked on it at all. And I don't know your.
Here's the thing. I feel like I could do some sick shit with this.
That's what I was going to say. I wonder if you'll gain new appreciation for it, like doing the art for it, though.
Maybe. I mean,
now I'm kind of like, maybe I want to tell you that I'd rather do the art for this, because I kind of.
You can. I mean,
but
I'm
also
not
I think you would do. But I think you would do something. This. I want to see your take on this Ghidorah, though.
I do think this is a monster I will enjoy drawing. Yeah. It is the kind of it is. Don't get me wrong. This kind of monster is very much a monster I like.
Yeah.
There's just something about it where the pieces aren't all, like, quite fitting together for me, and part of that is the fact that this movie is the climax to this trilogy, you know? And part of it has to be like, how do these pieces fit together to create some sort of satisfying conclusion? And unfortunately, Ghidorah is one of those pieces. So even if Ghidorah is the best piece, you know, it's not, I don't know. And maybe part of this is because they're not really moving, but like, and maybe part of it was because I was in a bad mood because I was not enjoying myself watching this. Mm-hmm. But like, I also was sort of like, are the monsters kind of like uglier in this one? Like, I don't know what it was.
No.
Like, I just was like, what is happening right now? Like, it was fucking with me, you know?
Yeah.
It was like, Godzilla looked so cool in the first one, and why does he look weird in this one, you know? So
I didn't feel like that in this one at all. I think the image, I know it's like you ends up kind of losing any interest in it because they just stand there doing nothing else but I do think the initial image of just Ghidorah wrapped around Godzilla, like biting into him, is like a beautiful, striking image, and it's like used for all the fucking marketing too. So it's like they knew that. I think it then becomes frustrating retroactively when it's like, oh, that's all they do. They just stand in that position and don't move.
The best part of your movie is the still image you use to market your movie.
Yeah,
you've got a problem. You know.
Yeah. What do you think of Ghidorah? All the like eyes that are all over him.
More eyes is cool.
Yeah, I think so too. Cool.
I mean, if you're doing doing an unknowable cosmic horror,
Mm-hmm.
I'm down for more eyes.
I think it's good.
Again, I don't know if I reconcile it necessarily with Ghidorah, but it's just monster design. Like a cosmic horror should have more eyes than you can comprehend.
Yeah.
Or in a way that you can't quite comprehend.
I agree, because it's like kind of just all over its head. I think that's fine. It feels, I like it. That another thing that I feel like renditions of like
there's like
Lovecraft like creatures, I think, are often kind of look like that, you know?
Yeah, I think there's a cooler way they could have depicted the eyes, but I like the idea. I like that there are a bunch of eyes. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm gonna send you. So before they did like the official concept art, like Seshida just like drew his own rendition of what he wanted Ghidorah to look like. It's pretty much exactly like what you end up seeing. Like they did it pretty much to a T. I think it's very funny that his drawing is still the exact same image of the movie that is Godzilla wrapped by Ghidorah. That like truly was the image they came up with, and then like from the get-go, and then that was the image they went with for the entire movie.
I like his drawing better than I like the final product.
Really?
Yeah. I think it has a more like sort of horrific, like it makes less sense to me in a way that makes sense to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like there's not like a uniformity to its eyes. There's not necessarily a uniformity to the spikes or its head or whatever. I actually like the way that he sort of coiled it. I think is cool.
Yeah. I think the head is a little more defined too. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like there's a defined shape.
Yeah, absolutely.
To it. Yeah.
Yeah. The final product's head is, honestly, it's more like a pincer than it is like an actual head with a mouth.
That's so true. Yeah.
Which is probably one of the things I'm not super into about it.
Sure.
Yeah, man. Oh man. His drawing's like cool.
But also he's like the best part of this movie, I think. You know what I mean? Like any juice that these movies have, I think comes from him. And that's not, that's not to disregard Urobuchi, who I know is a Godzilla fan too, but I think that his brand of nihilism that I think we talked about listing his credits in the first movie, I think I hate that how that goes in these movies. So I do think that Seshida is like the saving grace every time, and anytime any semblance of his ideas like really make it into the movie that aren't like kind of influenced and or tainted by the other two, I'm into it, you know?
Yeah. That makes sense.
I'm sure he would disagree because he seems like he had a great time working with the other guys, but I don't know. I think I like his. I would have loved to see his pure vision if he just kind of did this on his own.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I bet you would have gotten an even cooler cosmic horror out of him.
Probably. Yeah. Some of the fun things about the roar, I think is kind of interesting. Like they use the same, like when he's actually roaring, they use the same sound clip of like the Heisei Ghidorah and the sort of Monsterverse Ghidorah that's just like a modified Rodan roar that they've been using for years. But there's a point when he shrieks that's apparently I think it's when Metfi's like his eye like gets broken or whatever, so he loses the connection, becomes corporeal, and can get attacked by Godzilla. There's a shriek that he lets out that's a recycled. That's a weird rabbit hole. It's a recycled shriek from a monster from the Lost Planet video game series. But I think the reason that they started using it is because that's weirdly a soundbite that's been reused in multiple things. For example, it was reused by a monster in Gennady Tartakovsky's Primal show.
Oh.
And then in Tower of God, it was used for a monster in that as well. So like that's just
like almost like a Wilhelm scream.
Yeah, it's become like a monster Wilhelm scream. Weirdly, it's just so funny. Weird. Yeah. And then there is like a classic flying sound effect from the movies that they do reuse when you see like a silhouette in a vision initially. And then obviously the original like cackling roar is used for the communication device that the XFs use, which, hard to miss that. But I thought that was kind of fun that they still reuse that.
I mean, considering it felt like they weren't allowed to use anything.
Well, honestly, I'm kind of like, when that first happened and I first heard that, I was sort of like, because that's, in the context of a movie that's already like very, unsettling and cosmic horror and stuff like that. I'm like, the cackle kind of works better than a traditional roar would, because the cackle has always been just sort of strange sound anyway. Like, I think if this monster did the classic cackle, even if they like, oomphed it up with some reverb or whatever, I think that would work really well with this take on Ghidorah, honestly.
Yeah. Oh, I agree with you. I think it would have been cool.
Yeah. Anything else about this Ghidorah for right now, like design wise or concept wise?
No, I don't think so. I understand why it has such uniform coloring throughout. I think that's one of the things that I'm not super into, but I get it. So that's another. I just end up so conflicted, which maybe means it's successfully unknowable, to be honest.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so I'm sort of like, no, I would die for this Ghidorah. It's great. Perfect. I'll worship it. Sure. Eat my planet, daddy.
All you.
Yeah. This is just a fun thing because didn't occur to me, but apparently when they were designing the 7-pointed star that the Exifs use, like that Vetfius just puts into his eye, weirdly. That 7-pointed star, it's meant to represent Ghidorah's 3 heads, 2 wings, and 2 tails, adding to 7.
Oh, okay.
I just thought that was kind of fun. And then apparently when they do the like sort of ceremonial hand gesture that they do at certain points, it's like a 2 slicing motion in the air. So it's like 3 parts. Obviously Ghidorah is like very represented by 3. So like the Ghidorah thing, I guess, has been hinted within their culture since the beginning, which is like seeding that is cool. You know, like not that it was a surprise that they were worshiping Ghidorah the whole time, but like, I think it's kind of fun.
Well, yeah.
And also,
yeah, no, that's cool.
If they had gone with the plan of like putting the Exilian sunglasses on them, it would have made it like, because there's such stand-ins for them. What the Exilians do, but fucking like use Ghidorah, right, to cause havoc. So like,
yeah,
you know, technically, Doug, we get another monster in this movie because Mothra is technically in this movie. I wish people could see the way that you're just like despondently shaking your head right now.
I don't understand.
Genuinely feels to me like
why?
It genuinely feels to me because again, the whole vibes of these movies that I feel like I picked up on by the time we've gotten to this one is like, it isn't just we're trying to do a different take on Godzilla. It's we're trying to get rid of all that loser shit that Godzilla fans like because they're nerds. And I do feel like I could see some dude looking at Mothra and being like, it's a giant fucking moth. Who cares? Don't put her in the movie. That's silly. We don't like, you know, like, I know it's like, sure, whatever. I know you say she's popular, but like real cool people are going to think it's dumb. So don't put a fucking moth in your movie. And the compromise is, well, we'll get a silhouette of Mothra in there and you won't actually see her. And we'll allude to the idea of a moth god. But that's the closest we'll get. Because if we put a fucking moth in it, like that's some like dumb girl loser shit. We don't want that.
It's just like, I was not expecting from any Godzilla movie to get that feeling, that big bummer feeling you get when you feel like somebody with an element of control over the product, like genuinely does not like the product. Like, I don't know. Like it's weird. I said in our first one that I don't think you have to be a fan. I do think you have to be open and willing to accept the stories you're working with, you know, like I do think you have to be open and willing to the stuff that has come before it, not necessarily to do it the same way, but like everything feels like it is a door shut in the face of like so much of, I don't know. It is unfathomable to me. Not that you wouldn't put Mothra in a movie, but that you would include Mothra in a movie. And this is what it is.
Well, the fact that she's so like, if they didn't want to fuck with Mothra, fine, don't have Mothra in the movie. But the fact that it's like Mothra as a concept is such a major part of movie 2 and movie 3. It's sort of like, I think that's the frustrating thing, is that it's sort of like, well, it's like they're constantly priming you to expect that Mothra will show up in some way, and then she doesn't. And so, yeah, it's like, it feels like a door slam. And it's just like, well, why did you like take me in that direction? Like, and make me think that and sort of hope for it if you're not going to do it, other than like, I think I was talking about in the second movie that they're just trying to be like, we're subverting your expectations. And isn't that what good writing is? You know,
it feels like they were only willing to include Mothra as a figure so that they could justify having their insect people that give Haruo a way to resist the nanometal.
Yeah.
Like by the time you see everything that happens, it's sort of like, oh, none of what they're doing has like essentially like Mothra. we're told Mothra is like essential to their culture, but I don't know that they demonstrate that they had to tell the story with Mothra. I don't know. It's weird. It feels like, okay, we'll include her in some way, shape, or form.
But you're right. The Mothra
but we wanted
stuff
to do this other thing anyway, so we're going to figure out how to make it work with this other thing.
The only reason that it's Mothra and nothing else is just so they can have the insect scales. That are magic. That's literally the only thing. You're right. And to kind of mildly be like, justify, I guess, the light feeling of magic from these people, I guess, because Mothra always brings
I guess
it
like creates, I guess it's technically creating like this channel between characters, particularly Haruo, to like shed light on things, I guess, or like to create a connection between the telepathic channel that they established in the second movie is utilized in this movie. But I don't know that Mothra is necessary for a sci-fi trilogy to justify something like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know, man.
Yep. Oh, it was it's
just like,
yeah. I was
I'm struggling. I'm sorry, everyone. I'm struggling with this one.
I mean, this is a really divisive movie. Like, I mean, this is a divisive series, and I think out of the series, this is a divisive movie even more so, you know? I think there are people who are like really, really are into it and stick up for it. I think that those people who are just all in for cosmic horror stuff and don't care how movies treat women. Sorry.
But like, are you getting like the cosmic horror is there, but is it satisfying? Like, are they meeting the potential of the cosmic horror that they're establishing in this 90-minute movie?
I think the vibes for it are there. And I do think that there are, I think your basic beats of like a creepy cult and a knowable force and scary visuals and that feeling of just like smallness that you really can't do anything but sit back and go crazy. I think those are all there. I think that that's what works for me.
I do like that. I
don't like it for the end of this anime trilogy. I don't like it for this entire movie. I don't like this for the end of the story. I don't like that it comes out of nowhere, but that's what I have. That's Doug. That's all I have to hold on to for this movie.
I know. And I want to hold on to it with you. I want to, but it's so hard. It's so hard.
You know what? Okay. I'll give a positive. I don't know how you'll feel. One thing I do like about all three of these movies, I do think that their opening title sequences every time are always really cool. I forget what the first one is, but I love the second one being like the sort of liquid metal that's obviously meant to be like the nanotech that forms into the logo. And I loved like the sort of kaleidoscopic opening for this one. Like that feels really cool too. That felt very evocative, obviously, of Ghidorah because it's the yellow color and the sort of weird, like the, reality, time, space shifting feeling and everything. I thought that was really cool too. I think those are really, really good.
I think when these movies are allowed to be stylish, they are extremely successfully so. You know?
I think that this one often looks good in its animation, even when like not a lot's happening. I think I was noticing a lot more facial expressions on characters and like the way that even like just hair blows in the wind. Like it feels like they were putting a lot more effort into providing a lot of life and movement into everything in this movie, even like more so than the first two. Again, even when like not much is happening, I feel like there was constant movement and stuff like that happening.
Yeah, I do think the characters look really, really good. I think one of the things I'm realizing is that highlighted maybe more so in this movie based on like how certain lighting is, largely because like Ghidorah is kind of a light source.
Yeah, right.
It is more obvious that the monsters like look different than like the people and the environments in this movie.
Yeah.
Cause I look at the people and I'm like, they look amazing.
Yeah. I think like that's, again, I think we said it for the first movie is like a frustrating thing about these is that like, it's not a dumpster fire in like being incompetently made or anything. Like, I think that like, obviously, like it's so clear that a lot of effort went into these movies. I think it's clear that like a lot of love went into them. I just like don't like what you're giving me that you love so much, you know?
Yeah, I'm like not understanding where the love originated is where I'm struggling.
It's sort of like who hurt you to bring you to this point that this is the thing that you love?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just, I mean, also this movie is just incredibly misanthropic, like like down to its core, which I know is, I think, a thing that Urobuchi has been accused of, I guess, for a lot of his past stuff. Like people who don't like his stuff in other contexts are usually sort of like, he just like, it's very nihilistic and you kill people violently and it seems like you just kind of hate people. I think it really feels, I feel like you really feel that in this movie.
I think that's the key to why the bleakness of this movie doesn't work. Not because it is too bleak, but because of that misanthropy, misanthropy. I don't know.
I think, actually,
I think that's it. Because I think you can make something that is bleak that isn't saying that everyone's awful and nothing.
Because by the end of this movie, every character that I would think you're supposed to like makes a bad choice or something that you're supposed to hate, or is sort of like, wow, I suck and deserve to die. Like every character kind of does that. I think every named character, I should say, there's like background people and like the Hotua tribe, you don't know anyone but the twins, I guess, and them, but like, that's a whole other conversation.
Right.
But like any named character either dies or something like Dr. Lazari is like, by the end of this, the only fucking like named human from space that like survives, and he's like basically responsible for Haru fucking killing himself and basically dooming humanity, I guess. Put a pin in that. Like, yeah, you're right. I think that is a big problem. It just really comes from that, like, yeah, everybody sucks, humanity sucks, huh? And that's kind of where the movie fucking lands.
I don't know. You can do bleak without that.
I agree. I agree with you. Like, yeah, bleakness is in sort of like the environments you're in, the environments you are in, the circumstances you're in, the world you're in. I don't think the bleakness should come from who people are at their core. That's when it just is sort of like, okay, cool. There's like no hope.
Because bleakness is an opportunity, like I think that's why I like it sometimes, is it's an opportunity for your characters, not necessarily originating from your characters.
Yeah, sure. I'm trying to think of somewhere to go, and everywhere that I have to go are places that make me furious. No, I could tell you one thing. One thing I think this movie does really, really well. You can tell that I'm being so sarcastic right now. One thing this movie does incredibly well is like how it treats its women.
Speak on that.
I think it's really cool that in a movie with 3 named female characters, and to be fair to this movie, there are more female characters than that. They're just unnamed and have like a couple of lines before they like blow up on a space station. Your 3 female characters, you have one who starts the movie brain dead in a coma and gets one line in a dream.
Yeah.
Why is she even in a coma? Why wasn't she just dead the whole time
I don't know. See, that's the thing. The movie just feels cruel sometimes, where it's like you had her survive, but then made it extremely clear that she will not.
Yeah, no, she's brain dead. She's never coming back. She's like, just a
live
corpse
or whatever
right here. Yeah, there's no reason for it. But you've got that. She's brain dead, fully fridged, like no question about it. That's a fully fridged character because that was only for Haru's development and to feel bad about and to have
least interesting choice, most cruel decision.
But luckily, you have your 2 living women, and isn't it amazing that both of them are like, we gotta fuck our main character. We gotta get naked.
Weird.
3 named female characters, and all of them are in love with the main character in some way.
It is weird.
Isn't it fucking weird? When
it's particularly weird for the twins.
It was, dude, when I forget.
It's like uncomfortable weird.
I forgot which one did it first, but when the first one.
The fact that you even have to try to remember.
Well, look, because they make a whole thing of it. It's like, you are it, you were it. No, yeah, because it's like, you are Miyana, you're Mayana, or you're Miyana, you're Mayana. And it's sort of like, you're the one who actually wants to have sex with me, but also the other ones. The fact, like, when the first one got naked and was just all over him, I was like, oh God, what the fuck are we doing? And then I was like, felt like mildly better when he sort of is like rebuffs her and is sort of like, you don't have to do that. You don't have to get naked around me. We're not going to have sex right now. It's fine. So I was like, you know what? Good moment for Haru. He like recognized like that this isn't the right situation for that. he's being like actually like sensible about it. He doesn't want to take advantage of her because clearly there's like sort of a cultural divide here, and it's not the right not the right time for this, not the right circumstances, not the right motivation for it. It's like, you know what? I don't like you 99% of the time, but like, I'm here for you in this moment. You made the right choice. Then the fucking second one shows up and gets naked around him, does the exact same thing. And it's like, guess we're fucking. And then the flash forward is like, and then they get married and have a baby. Like, what the fuck is this? Where did it come from? Why do we have to see both of these? Like, what fetish is it to see both of these twins naked in this movie, in this fucking animated Godzilla movie? Godzilla movies like famously like very rarely have any nudity in them ever. You get this fucking animated movie where it's just like, we got two hot twins, both of them got to get naked.
I can't begin to explain.
It's
like, I don't know what purpose it serves. I don't know how it fits into anything we've seen to this point.
Other than a bunch of straight men made the movie and there's no women on the staff whatsoever. Like, that's the only explanation I got for you, man.
It's just weird. It's just weird, and like, way to just kind of fuck you to your like, I don't know. It sounds weird to say like to the Hotua people, but like they represent something in the sort of franchise of Godzilla, you know?
Yeah, but also no other Hotua person gets anything but these two. And
I mean,
both
that's part of the
them
fuck you.
Get fucking naked and want to fuck Haro, and one of them actually does. It's absurd. It's absurd. 3 women in this movie. All of them are fucking love interests or sex objects or both. Like, that's when I'm sort of like, if you really like this movie a lot, I think that maybe there's a little bit about yourself that you need to interrogate. Cause like, that's, I think, kind of the way cause it's an important part of the movie. And like, I think pretty unforgivable. Like, that's when I'm sort of like, maybe this movie is doing a little bit of evil, actually.
Yeah.
Sorry. Like, I don't think there's anything that you can email back defending that stuff. Sorry.
That's the thing. That's why I said at the top, I feel like I've been fair. I feel like I've been trying to see the side of things that I don't understand. I've tried to see like the kernel of the idea that barely got off the ground that I could see where it would make sense. There's a lot in this movie that I'm just like, it would feel bad for me to even try to understand
it's like the
why you're doing the thing you're doing.
The stuff with the twins it's like out of nowhere too, you know? Like, like I know that they're trying to build like, oh, there's like a connection between Haro and Miana, like, cause they from the second movie or whatever. But like the jump from that to like, I gotta fuck ya. Like, I don't get it. And the way that they present it as these women just like stripping in front of him is so fucking weird. It's so fucking weird.
It's so weird. And I know that this is such a fucking dumb question to ask for how this all actually played out, but like, is anybody convinced by this relationship? You know what I mean? Like, I know the people who made it didn't ask that question, and that's not a consideration. And I'm sure if there are people who do like this, that's not a consideration. The idea that you have to convince your audience that this is something that makes sense or is compatible or is, you know, is earned or whatever. Like, I know that's a stupid question for this in particular.
Yeah.
But I would ask it for other relationships in other movies that have a significance or an impact, you know, that I didn't feel like had been earned.
Yeah.
Like it's weird to ask it. It's the fact that it's weird to ask it speaks volumes.
Yeah.
Like,
it's just like there's too little to the characters to begin with. So the fact that this is like a major part of their story, like it makes it that much worse, you know? Like if they were fully developed characters, it would still be weird, but at least maybe there'd be something that can make you buy into it or something more. It's just so fucking out of nowhere, and it so clearly feels just like a fetish. Feels like a fetishization thing.
4.5 hours, Derek. 4.5 hours. They had 4.5 hours to set this up.
Yeah.
They had 4.5 hours to convince us this made any sense whatsoever.
A positive point column I will give is I do like that. Again, I forget which twin is doing this. I think it's Mayan. Mayan is the one who ends up getting like kidnapped, basically, right? I think yes, because Miana is the one that actually has sex with Haro. I think
the one who found him in the second one. I think.
Well, but
right?
but then they reveal that like one that the one he thought found him didn't actually find him though. That's why I'm confused.
Oh my God.
One twin gets kidnapped at the end of it. One of them actually has sex with Haru. That's all that matters.
Yeah.
I do like the one scene where the one who doesn't get with Haru like figures out that Metphys and the Exif are like telepathic and that there's like something deeper going on. I do like, cause I do think this movie like they'll be like, no, you know, the Hotu are like, you know, advanced people, even if they look primitive, but then like don't really actually like give the Hotu people enough credit beyond that other than just sort of saying that. I do like they have these moments of like, no, these girls are like actually like very, very smart, very perceptive. And they figured out what the humans never did, which is that the fucking Exif have been telepathic this entire time and have been doing their own little plotting, like just in their heads the whole time, just from noticing that they're like oddly silent in particular moments. Like, I actually really liked that a lot, that she puts those pieces together.
Yeah. And I do think that's a fun thing to have, sort of built into your final plot and sort of like the big bad sort of plot, because we do see so little of the Exif together in comparison to obviously humans, but then also the Bila Saludo. Yeah. So like they're just not there aren't a ton of opportunities for us to figure it out, but there's enough there for us to sort of be like, oh yeah, like if they were trying to pull this off, they're actually kind of doing it really well by not always being around or in your face. Or Metphys is kind of like this mysterious figure who pops in and out depending on what's happening in the movie. Yeah. And sometimes the characters even comment on that as to like, where is he? Or they're surprised he's shown up or whatever the case is. So they did successfully sort of build kind of a weird intrigue around them. I don't know if they like really pull off that sort of payoff of the intrigue, but it didn't feel like it came out of nowhere. No, I mean, it definitely didn't. I guess part of the problem is I sort of was like, you're taking a really long time to explain this thing that I feel like I knew last movie.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, so. I know. It's like they didn't really. Yeah, they did not hide the fact that the Exif were. That's why I'm sort of like, you should have just put the fucking sunglasses on them, because we all kind of figured out that they were going to be bad guys anyway. Like,
yeah,
whatever.
Yeah, wait. I was suspicious of them in the first movie.
From the get-go, they were creepy like from the beginning. I mean, they spell it out to you in the conversation between the Exif and the Bisaludo, where it's sort of like, I mean, you were going to conquer the planet after you saved him from Godzilla, right? They're like, yeah, but you were too, right? Like, yeah, it's sort of like they did kind of tell you that was the plan, you know? You just didn't know what the plan was, the extent of it. But they did pretty much tell you, like, they kind of want to conquer the planet. Like, I don't know. Like, don't try to pull the wool over my eyes when like the wool is transparent.
Yeah.
But what happens right after that sequence though, when when she reveals that she's figured all this out, is when all the Ghidorah vision stuff starts happening, and you get this fucking creepy ass dream where Haru dreams of like drinking from a bowl with the twin, I think Miana, one of them's head in it, basically the twin's head, severed head in it, which did creep me the fuck out. That was another moment when I was just like, what the fuck are we doing here? And at the very least it was a dream. She didn't really get decapitated and put into a fucking bowl, but I was still watching that. I'm sort of like, I don't know, man. Is this really the movie that we're making right now?
Well, it's a weird... the specificity of that dream is weird given the other things that happen in this movie, right? So, like, if it were just a weird, like, horrifying, inexplicable dream that's made to make him question something or reflect on something, and so the imagery is kind of fucked up, that's one thing. But given all the other things they do with the twins in this movie, it's sort of like, why did we chop her head off and put it in a bowl? You know, like,
right.
And I like the idea of having these weird, inexplicable, fucked up dreams. And I think it's a thing they could have been using during the whole trilogy to sort of lead up in some way, shape, or form to the cosmic horror without getting into the cosmic horror, you know, or too soon or whatever. So it's like another thing where I'm sort of like,
yeah,
I like what you could have done with it. You know?
Yeah. Mayana is the one who ends up getting with Haru. The scowly one is the one who actually gets with Haru and becomes his wife. Miana is the one who's kidnapped.
And so Mayana was the one who found him also? Is that what the sort of...
So the one that we see in this post-credit sequence is actually Mayana. And then she like dipped out because he proves it by sort of like, oh, you know how to open my suit. And the other one didn't. She had dipped out
that's right.
in between movies. And then her sister Miyana shows up. And then Haro assumes that she's the one who rescued him. So the big twist of this movie is that the one he thought didn't like him because she has a scowl on her face actually liked him all along because she rescued him. That's the big surprise. So what a satisfying reveal, Doug. Just truly. And that's why I believe their relationship and that it absolutely makes sense for them to hook up and have a kid together.
Yeah.
Beautiful, sweeping romance.
This
movie kind of fucking sucks.
Just like, Derek, I'm at a loss.
It's
like
bananas.
This is 28 Godzilla movies and like 10 movies on top of that. And in no episode of this podcast have I felt like completely at a loss for what to say.
It's just like a mean,
left dumbfounded,
a mean, cruel, nihilistic movie. Doesn't seem to like any of its characters. Really fucking just hates women, or at the very least has zero respect for them, and just wants to like fuck shit up and get out of here and make you feel bad at the end of it. And that's it. That's it.
So annoying.
That's all the fucking movie is.
These movies could have been so good. And not even completely different versions of these movies. These movies could have been so good.
Yeah. I want to get to the end stuff with Haro and everything and where that comes to a head, but
sure.
I guess is there stuff before we get there, because that's going to be a whole fucking ass conversation.
No.
Okay. So, the character stuff, the way this goes, Haro ends up killing Metphies, right? Who's like kind of his only friend and everything. I can see conceptually, I totally get that of sort of like this dude who's so full of the haterade. His one love interest has died. So the one friend that he actually had a connection with turns out to actually have been the big bad manipulating him all along, using his hatred to basically summon Ghidorah. That's the cosmic horror cult stuff that I like. I think that's cool.
Perfectly into that. Yeah. Totally
into that. Oh, you know what? Actually, before we get to that, one thing I also found interesting, but also sort of like, why the fuck are we doing this when Ghidorah is summoned by the cult and then it just sort of like dismembers all of them in that weird fucking creepy way?
Yes.
I'm curious how you felt about that, because I have mixed feelings. I think it's like cool imagery in a very Lovecraftian way, but it also is so upsettingly fucked up that it also is another like twins head in the bowl thing where I'm sort of like, I don't know, man. It's sort of a little too fucked up, but I also like the cosmic horror stuff, so I don't know.
It's fucked up, and I would certainly take the critique that like in the context of this movie that's so cruel to so many characters that it's hard to take it seriously. But I kind of I don't know. I thought it was effectively horrifying, especially given as a somewhat of a follow-up to the second movie, where we have the Saludo who are willing to like consciously give their bodies to their version of God. And then this one, I mean, the last movie is basically like, if you're too reliant on technology, you're fucking dumb and you're going to kill yourselves. And then this movie is like, if you're too reliant on religion, you're dumb and fucked up and going to kill yourself.
Yeah,
like,
well,
like there's no group that they feel differently about, but this is sort of like the more traditional religious version of that. And I think what made it slightly more horrifying is like, you don't get the sense that these people really understand the magnitude of what they're summoning. And so to have it just sort of immediately have this like dismembering effect on them in a way that is, I mean, it's depicted in a confusing way, but like on purpose.
Yeah.
Was effective to me, at least. I think it made sense given what we saw with the Saludo, given what these movies have, what I would have thought these movies are about, which is about the sort of extremism and how you react to that or pull back from that, or how you compromise that with things. Like, it makes sense in that realm.
I think that's one of the good things I think this trilogy does explore, is like, the sort of extremism the Saludo have, and then the Exif, their type of extremism is like, I think Metphies talks about how like there are people like are so good at like math that they like calculated beyond linear time and like determine that the universe is finite. Eventually the universe will end and like isn't infinite. It will be destroyed in some way and everything will disappear. And they find peace and comfort in the destruction of the universe. And then you put that up against people who like are interested in like being alive while the universe exists. Obviously it's going to come into conflict if they're sort of like destruction is good. Everything's fine. You know, like just let our God eat you. It's cool. We're at peace with it. I think that's really interesting. I think that's a really interesting thing to explore because that's like basically presenting like an extreme dark concept of nihilism, like the most like bad form of nihilism where it's just like everything's going to die. Therefore everyone else should die along with me. And that's like the ultimate achievement is death essentially. I think that is cool. I think the problem is that there really is no actual counter to that because the counter is sort of like, but we have to keep on living. Oh, in a life that sucks though. And also I'm a bad person and I guess I should die too. Like that's kind of where there's no like alternative to that. It really, which is I think why it feels so misanthropic is just sort of like everything sucks and everyone's wrong.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's exploring these ideas, but nothing's interrogating these ideas, you know?
Yeah,
so like,
right.
This is the kind of thing, this whole movie would have made an incredible entry in a television show that you would watch and be like, whoa, this week was fucking wild. You know, like that's kind of what the reaction you would get if you packed all of this sort of these sort of revelations and these big sort of universe ideas and all this sort of stuff into this one episode of the show that is otherwise a bit more conventional, you know, like you can see exactly where this would slot in, you know?
Yeah.
Or like Metphies as a character, the turn to realize like how extreme his beliefs are and how willing he is to go and the things that he's done. Like there are plenty of anime that have these types of characters and you are supposed to feel horror at realizing what they're willing to do, you know? Like I think of characters from like Full Metal Alchemist where the whole point is for you to meet them and then realize like, whoa, holy shit, I got close to this person and what they're willing to do is so fucked up and makes me so uncomfortable. But usually you interrogate that. Usually you have some sort of reaction to that, you know? Yeah. Usually it doesn't just like end there. So no. I don't know. It's weird because like I think you can in plenty of forms of art, I mean all forms of art, simply explore an idea. Like I don't think that's an invalid way to make art or to infuse value into something. But I do think the amount of time this movie and this trilogy spends exploring something without that reaction or without an interrogation makes it not feel like you're just doing an exploration for the sake of art or for the sake of highlighting something or for the sake of presenting something, you know? It's hard not to feel like this is the belief when you have spent 4.5 hours building towards this and reinforcing this.
Well,
but like it starts at a place where I can get behind, you know?
Yeah. But I think that's what kind of gets us to the end point, right? Because like, yeah, Ghidorah is ultimately defeated because Haro destroys Metphies' connection to him, which then makes Ghidorah like corporeal or you can't see.
Cool.
Or whatever. It's cool.
Again, love the idea of like the anchor and how they actually figure out how to affect an unknowable, untouchable, interdimensional beast.
Yeah, and they like make him basically it like for whatever reason it like makes him part of our dimension, and also he can't see, I guess, and Godzilla can actually fight him. Not that it's much of a fight, really. It's more just like Godzilla's like, okay, you're dead now, and just like blows him up. But you know, they're not allowed to have monster fights in these movies.
Bizarre.
But you know, that's how it all ends, and I think from there. I think it's not a surprise that like, oh, so now our surviving humans join the Hotua tribe and they're just sort of integrate with them. Like, I think that totally makes sense.
Yeah.
But then they have this one sort of last little section of the movie where it's a flash forward because Haro has a kid now, it seems like, with Mayana. I already forgot which one I figured out it was. I think it's Mayana.
Yeah.
So he's a father, which I think will be important in a minute. He is a father with a family in a tribe with like a limited number of people already. And the big swerve this movie takes is that like oh, everything seems okay, but now Dr. I always forget his fucking name, Lazari. Dr. Lazari has like one of the vulture mechs from that they originally had, and also had, I guess their justification for keeping Yuko's body around comatose, which if this is a flash forward and Haru now has like a kid who's like a toddler or something, a few years have passed now and her comatose body is just chilling in a cave. Why? What the fuck are they doing? Anyway,
weird.
They use some of the metal from her comatose body, and he's sort of like, oh shit, I actually have got this stuff working. We're actually going to be able to like rebuild society, like rebuild civilization with technology to be kind of what it was before the monsters attacked, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then Haru's like gets sort of Metphise's voice in his head that's sort of like, man's thirst for prosperity is ultimately what attracts Ghidorah, which confuses me because I thought it was like his hate that attracted Ghidorah, but they sort of make it seem like man's penchant for achievement and prosperity and evolving technology causes people to have the concept of hate, because the Hotua don't actually even have a word for hate and don't actually understand. Like, I do like the bit where one of the twins are sort of like, we don't have a word for hate because Godzilla is like a typhoon or a thunderstorm. You don't hate that. You might fear them. You don't hate them. Right. I like that aspect of it. And,
Me too.
And so Haru, the way that he interprets this is that his hatred is something that could theoretically like poison this culture around them and make them worse and get back to a point where Ghidorah can return, essentially. Can you explain the connection between Haru being filled with hatred and rebuilding society with nanometal? What they keep making those two connections, that those are the two things that attract Ghidorah, but what are the connections between Haru being full of hate and not wanting to poison this like pure culture with his hatred, which I understand that conceptually. I also understand separately the idea of like, nature is pure. You don't want to poison it with technology. I'll have things to say about that, but I understand their concept for it. What is the connection between Haru being a person filled with hate, technology being bad?
I don't fully know, but this movie does really like hammer in that the inevitable endpoint for humanity as it develops is gigantic monsters that will destroy humanity. Like it, and which is a weird thing because it ultimately is telling.
I understand how they get to that from the core concept of Godzilla being like, we crossed the line technologically, creating created monsters.
Yeah.
So I kind of get how like the endpoint for technology is to create the type of weapons or cross lines that then create monsters. I do understand that aspect of it.
Well, they present it as an inevitability, right? So like it is not simply that is a possibility that humanity needs to keep in mind. It is that it feels like, maybe I'm just misinterpreting things they're saying, but it feels like the movie and the characters presenting the ideas are basically, because again, we're not really getting any interrogation of the Saluda. We're not really getting any interrogation of the Exif. We're not really getting any interrogation of how certain things are being presented. So it's hard to say that the movie is telling you to agree or disagree with them. But it does feel like an inevitability that humanity just simply will do this if you develop, which makes it feel like the only answer is for humanity just like not to exist,
right?
Or to accept the cycle of creating monsters and destroying them,
which again now feels very misanthropic, but
it is. It absolutely is, because you're not saying that humanity is able to take the reins. You're not presenting an opportunity for humanity to change.
It's very clear at the end of this movie that it's sort of like, you will never learn from this is what it is.
Cannot litigate whether this is a Godzilla movie or not. It's a Godzilla movie whether we like it or not. But I do think that insistence that cycle just is really takes away from what Godzilla movies, I think, often are supposed to be telling you.
That's so true.
You know what I mean? Like, humanity has a responsibility and you can take that responsibility.
Yeah, this is sort of, if you put this on like, the original Godzilla movie and a lot of other, especially in the Showa era, would basically be like, the philosophy of this movie on that would be like, Godzilla showed up because you fucked up and he should destroy all of you, and that's it. There's nothing we can do.
But it's going to happen anyway. So if you survive, may as well just do it. I mean, that's kind of what the Saluda sort of submitted to, right? They just sort of accepted that like the end point is to create a god that will then destroy you, and you accept it.
But it's just like, it's just sort of like, there's nothing you can do to fix this. You might as well just die.
Right. So to your original question, though, as far as like how that links in any way to Haruo's hate, I do think like because Haruo has been convinced, whether it's true or not, like has been convinced that his hatred has like allowed for the summoning of Ghidorah. I think if he's presented with with the idea that like your creation of monsters as humanity is inevitable, you will not be able to prevent the creation. And so your hatred will always be a portal for the worst sort of monsters and horrors of the universe. I guess that's the as tenuous as it is, I guess that's sort of the connection.
Yeah.
It's not that those two things are necessarily inherently linked or sort of like quantumly entangled. But I think if you were told that like, you know, monsters will always exist and you are actually a catalyst for making it easier for more monsters to exist, and you had what was presented to you as evidence that one of the worst monsters was summoned because of you, like you were a catalyst for that, I could see where that fucks you up.
Yeah.
I don't know that it justifiably, like, I don't think it justifiably gets to where we get to.
I think that, I think all of that makes sense. I think that what frustrates me is that, you know, whatever the complexity of all that stuff, I think that actually there's a couple of things that frustrate me actually.
Yeah.
There's the horror side and there's the technology side. Which one do I want to go at first? Because these are tough conversations. I think the technology thing, I think I'm very frustrated, I think, by the technology stuff that in universe, the idea is that Haru not only kills himself, but he also like eliminates the entire possibility for the nanotech and any of their like technology that they had to ever exist again. It's like eradicated by flying right into Godzilla's heat ray.
Which theoretically eliminates the possibility of creating monsters through technology as an inevitable endpoint, and also Haru as a catalyst for a cosmic horror creature.
His solution is basically like eliminate the possibility for that, so the Hotua people are just gonna theoretically not develop beyond where they're at, I guess. I think one problem that I really have, though, this is fully in universe.
Which really undermines the Hotua people as we've been presented them.
Well, yes, put a pin in that. But also, we saw in the second movie that the Hotua used that nanometal to like defend themselves from the creatures that are on the planet that are still going to be there. So he's fully fucked over the Hotua people because that was a vital part of their culture, and they were.
That's a good point.
I don't think that was meant to show that it was corrupting their culture.
No, it was protecting them.
That was a tool that was part of the environment that they were using, and the whole point a lot of times in these like sort of nature versus technology stories, I feel like, because it's a well that has been treaded very often, is that like an over reliance on technology can like cause you to lose your humanity in some way. And the benefit of like relying on nature is that like these are tools that are part of a living ecosystem that you are part of. You give and you take mutually, because that's what all creatures that are part of an ecosystem do. I think what I found interesting about like the sort of Mechagodzilla city and how it interacted with Hotua people is that they were effectively using it as a part of their ecosystem, that they had this living nanometal. Just like Godzilla as this giant creature, it was scary and it would kill things like a storm would, but Godzilla is part of the ecosystem and like vital to nature around him. Effectively, they created this sort of universe where like the sort of like metallic aspects had been integrated into, I mean, metal comes from nature, but you know what I mean? Like technological metallic aspects have been integrated into nature.
It's alien to this Earth, but it has managed to incorporate itself into Earth's ecosystem.
Right. So by deciding like, well, nanometal is bad, right? We just saw in the second movie that they were using it for evil, therefore it's bad, therefore technology is bad. We got to eliminate it. It's like, I don't think that was the problem, because the Hotua literally proved that you could use that just as a natural resource, that's just as you would anything in nature. I think it kind of devalues that.
Absolutely.
And I think from there, I think the big problem they end up having is that like this movie's take on that nature versus technology conversation is like so unnuanced that I think it kind of eats itself, because it really is just sort of like, if you have any fucking speck of something that you have developed as a tool, it is bad and you should feel bad. The only way to live is to live underground in ways that like would be viewed primitive by our current civilization.
Look, I think you can tell incredible stories interrogating man's hubris as it relates to technology. I think it's one of the best things about the Mechagodzilla stories I've liked so far. You know, it's what I'm always craving from a Mechagodzilla story. I think one of the most boring takes in the world is just that, man, technology's bad. What? Come
right.
on.
That's all this movie fucking does. It makes me so mad. Cause like, right, I think that Star Trek has done so many of stories like that where like they deal with like an alien culture or planet or something that they're like, this is so uncivilized and primitive. And then they learn like, oh, you know what? Maybe some of these old ways are pretty good. But I think, and like there's some Star Trek stories that deal with that badly, but I think the really good ones are exploring it in a way where it's sort of like, at what point is there a line where technology makes you lose your humanity versus at what point is it sort of like, well, you can't fully return to nature because like, there are still like diseases that you could cure that like you don't have to die from. You know what I mean? Like there's like benefits of technology. There's negatives of technology. We deal with that all the fucking time. Like we're in the year 2025. We are constantly dealing with the idea of like, this technology is good, but maybe using the technology in this way is bad, or maybe like too much of this version of technology in this direction is bad, and maybe you should stop it. Like we're always having that conversation, and there's no way to ever fully agree on it because it's very subjective. That's what makes that conversation interesting. So it makes it really frustrating that this movie doesn't even attempt to have that conversation. It really is technology bad. Well, what do you define as technology? Like animals in nature use fucking tools already. At what point is a tool too much technology? Like, how do you define that?
It's,
you know?
It's so frustrating with regards to the fact that the Hotua were using this nanometal, which is the technology that is being condemned, because they managed to find, because the way that the Bilosaludo used it is presented as bad, you know, like obviously.
Sure.
But the reason it's presented as bad is because they make all these weapons from it, and it's you know, it's got this AI that sort of was out of control, and they've literally given up their humanity to this technology, and like that is bad, and it doesn't go well for them, and it doesn't go well for humanity. Whether the movie is actually making a commentary or not, I think it's hard to walk away from that and not think, oh, what they did with it is bad. But in that same movie, you are presented with the Hotua who are using the same material and effectively using it the same way, but within the environment, right? Like the nanometal's objective that it is programmed with, right, is at all costs and with its sole focus to destroy Godzilla. We were then told that the creatures of this world have taken on the characteristics of Godzilla. So the monsters that attack humans are being killed with this material that is supposed to like kill Godzilla. Like it really did find a sort of natural place in the world as it has evolved. And I think that what bums me out is that it makes it feel like that was never intentional, and that the only reason they gave the Hotua spears that are headed by nanometal is as a way to introduce the nanometal and let the Bilosaludo know that Mechagodzilla still existed, because they never observed the fact. I mean, they observed the fact that the nanometal can pierce the hide of these monsters, but they never addressed the fact that the reason the nanometal would even be okay with this or theoretically cooperate with the Hotua is because they are using it on creatures that are effectively part of or a result of Godzilla. You know?
Yeah.
So I think this movie has basically been like, oh, well, they didn't, you know, it was never that important to them anyway. It just was like a thing that they could use. And it's like, I don't know. I think it probably kept them alive, and they managed to figure out a way to live alongside it.
I think it's just like the most fucking baby brain take on like that whole philosophical question.
That's why I said it's the most boring version.
What is the line with too much technology? All of it.
Didn't think about it.
How do you define technology? I don't know, robot. It looks silver in our design style.
But
that's it. Like, what? Okay. What do you have to say about that? Are you gonna Urobuchi, are you gonna throw away your fucking computer? Probably not. So like, what the fuck?
Right.
Like, what are you trying to tell me here? I don't know.
Boring take is because it's not thought out even beyond the first question you asked. It doesn't matter what the answer to what do you mean by technology? That's not the point of what that take even is. The point is just to be nihilistic and condemn a thing that humans rely on in certain ways.
I also feel more validated, honestly, by like calling it kind of a cop out in the second movie, that it's just like they introduced the nanotech and it's just like, well, you don't have to think about it because the Beastludo are using it for evil no matter what, and they're in control of it. It feels like even more of a cop out here because it's like, they gave you, because the Beastludo used the nanotech in a way that was like the most destructive and evil way possible. Then it's sort of like, well, see, technology is bad, so it should be a good thing that it's destroyed.
Completely ignoring the fact that people have lived here for how long using it successfully.
Right.
Completely fine. It's not
and
killing
they seem
them.
to be doing just fine with that. So, God. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so frustrating, man. It's just like, why even start to have the fucking conversation and act like you're a hard sci-fi that has interesting things to say, and then you don't fucking, either you don't say anything or you say it in the most boring way, or you like negate what you already established in the universe. Like, it just feels so not thought through. And by all accounts, it was very heavily pre-planned and years in the making. I don't know. It's very it's so disappointing.
I just like don't understand it. I can't wrap my head around how this ended up this way,
The other side of it, Haruo, once he comes to these conclusions, here's a bit of credit that I will give to it from a characterization standpoint, is that I do, in concept, think that there's a really interesting idea of like someone realizing that like I am the problem and me and like my own flaws could potentially like infect the people around me if they listen to me. And I think like it lines up with the second movie with Haruo's, relationship with Yuko, where she basically like took on the hatred that he had, and then that like basically killed her. Right. And I do understand how you get to this point where it's sort of like, fuck, like my own hatred that's within me is like so deep and in my core that like, if people like listen to what I say, it's going to like turn them into monsters. And here we have this like, group of people that like don't think about the types of things that make me full of rage.
I've introduced the idea of hatred to this person who didn't have that idea before.
Right. Like, I think that is really fucking a cool thing to address, because like that's a real heady concept. A lot to introduce in your last like 10 minutes of a movie, of a fucking 3-movie trilogy, but 3-movie trilogy, like there would be more movies than 3 in a trilogy. But it's an interesting thing in a movie that has a lot of weird shit
and has other opportunities to have built upon that, right? Like we pointed some of them out last week.
Right. And it's not out of nowhere that this would come up, even if I do think it's weird. That's kind of the last 10 minutes of the movie.
Agreed.
It's not out of nowhere. And it is like the character of Haruo had to be heading for somewhere. I do think that that is an interesting place for him to head, is realizing that. But again, this movie takes every solution for everything and every answer to every question is the most boring fucking version of it. I think that the most frustratingly boring answer to this question is like, I'm going to affect everyone with my hatred. Well, instead of like trying to change myself, I guess I'll just die. I'll die. That's the answer to this. If you have what I come out of this movie feeling is, if I notice that I have a character flaw that's like very deeply embedded, that would be like really, really hard to work on, I should just kill myself. That truly is what I leave this movie feeling, which I again think is like, I think this movie is doing genuine evil into the world by even making me consider that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no,
am I being unfair and too over the top with that?
No. I think might be like overestimating like the impact of this movie, given that people probably aren't watching it, but But I don't disagree with you that like having any piece of art, especially on the stage and in the position that you have, making a Godzilla movie, and the punctuation of that movie, one, is punctuating several situations where you explored ideas of either evil or inhumanity or cruelty or whatever, and chose not to interrogate those. And you punctuated that with somebody who recognizes something about themselves that they consider a problem or whatever, and then chooses not to interrogate it, reinforces what it seems like you're saying, which is don't interrogate anything because you can't change it. And
don't try to help yourself. Don't try to improve yourself.
Or anyone or anything, right? And so to punctuate all of that, because this is not an isolated thing in this trilogy, right? Like there are plenty of things in this trilogy that get explored as something that is wrong, but not interrogated as something we should do something about. You're punctuating that with, and if you find that in yourself, you're worthless and probably should die. Yes, that is harmful. That is genuinely harmful. Do I think a lot of people are necessarily going to walk away from this movie and be like, that's for me? No, but I think the fact that it's even possible, the fact that you even could interpret it this way, because I think that's what it's doing, is genuinely bad. It's bad. It's a bad thing to do. It's a bad way to end your movie. It is a bad thing to do with your protagonist character. It's a bad thing to punctuate. It's a bad thing to culminate all these explorations without interrogations on. It's bad. It will. Yeah. It's like, it's depressing. It is really upsetting. That's why this movie pisses me off so much, is it's like upsetting that this is part of the legacy of Godzilla.
You know what? I like Haruo, I've gone through an arc that's led me to a very, very dark place. And I think that saying that this is my favorite movie out of the trilogy just because of the cosmic horror stuff kept me compelled. It was more interesting than the first two. Coming back to that, I think like there's enough evil that this movie fucking does that I think genuinely is harmful, and just seems to come from a really like nasty place that I think that this conversation is making me hate it a lot more, and I think it's overriding that.
But I think you just like
it's such a disgusting. It just is such a disgusting place for this movie to go.
Yeah.
And like other movies have done heroic sacrifices before. Like I don't think
very first Godzilla movie.
Right. Like I'm okay with a heroic sacrifice. I don't equate like there are some people that I've seen do this where they kind of equate every heroic sacrifice with being equivalent to like endorsing suicide. And I don't agree with that. I think that is extremely bad faith. I do think that you do sometimes have to be careful with how you portray a heroic sacrifice, obviously. And I do think that there is a bit of a danger zone there that you have to think about and present it very well. And that's a whole other conversation. It very much depends on the circumstance.
The very first Godzilla movie does it extremely well. Yes. Where there is, I don't think you can walk away from that mistaking the motivation, the decision, like even if you don't like it and wouldn't do it yourself, you get it.
Exactly. I think that's a beautiful comparison. And Godzilla movies have plenty of heroic sacrifices and stuff. I think this, I would not. I think this, they want you to feel like it's a heroic sacrifice, I guess. I don't know.
It's not a heroic sacrifice at all. It's literally making a decision for this entire people and planet. And true. It's very selfish, actually. Yeah, it's not interrogating any of the stuff that you just realized that made you want to do this. Like, if you recognize that this is an effect you can have on the people around you, the correct thing to do, the thing that would actually have a positive impact, is not removing yourself from the equation. It is doing the opposite because you know what the wrong thing would be.
Yeah, it's, I don't know, man. I'm like, my brain is like short circuiting right now because it's just like, if this was if the intention was that it wasn't supposed to feel like a heroic sacrifice, which it's definitely not. Like, I think if you're a bad writer who's stupid, then I think you'd be like, that's a heroic sacrifice. Mm-hmm. And maybe that's Genro Birchi. I don't know, man. But if you are someone who is very intentional and you are not trying to frame it as a heroic sacrifice, then that means that your take on Haruo the character is that like, yeah, he's a pretty fucking horrible person, right? And there really was no redeeming him and he deserved to die, which again, I think does kind of align with what we've said, that like, it seems like they just kind of hate these characters and the whole vibe is very misanthropic. That's pretty much the most misanthropic thing you could do, is be like, I hate you as a character and you deserve to die, and you hate yourself and think you should die. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
like there's really no way to take this that's like positive or gives it any value. Like either you're a bad writer or you're like a good writer who fucking hates your characters, because you know what? If that's the direction that he's going and he just really fucking hated these people and wanted me to feel like the movie hates the characters and I should kind of hate them too, you accomplished the goal, man. You did your job, I guess.
I guess.
Like, why else would this be here? What else is what is my takeaway supposed to be from this? Because here's the other thing, is the post-credit sequence.
Yeah.
I had to kind of like look up, like, what the fuck was I looking at?
Go ahead and finish that thought.
I mean, I guess they're burning like an effigy or something in, is it an effigy even if it's a good thing, or is effigy only bad? They're burning.
I think it's neutral.
Okay. They're like burning an effigy, I guess, that I think is supposed to represent Haruo, represent his sacrifice for burning hatred away. But also it feels really ominous too. What is your interpretation of that fucking end credits scene?
I have no idea what to make of it. I was shocked it was there. I was like,
because it seems like it's like they are aware and I guess are honoring his cult, and like have created a new ritual of like putting their like fears and things that I guess could become hatred into this burning like effigy, memorial, whatever you'd call it, representing Haruo. That is the interpretation that I read. I could not glean that from watching the movie. I was just baffled by what I was watching, but that's what people interpret it to be. And I think that's what it's intended to be.
Yeah. I mean, I
which then implies that you're supposed to feel good about the sacrifice that he made at the end of the movie, which then I'm like, okay, bad writer, marking the bad writer column, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, I also would not say that even if this was, even if you were supposed to interpret it as this was a heroic sacrifice and it did better, I don't know that showing us this ritual that they didn't have before, which is used specifically to try to, you know, purge them of negative emotions, is something that I, as an individual person watching this, I'm going to walk away with being like, yeah, this culture's better now as a result of what you did. Like, I like, you know, like you said, it feels ominous. It's not a scene that feels good. It's not like they're celebrating in some way or feel happier. Yeah, it's weird. I mean, to be totally honest, the fact that there was a post-credit scene at all, I was like, what makes you think you earned a post-credit scene? There's not another movie after this. What are we doing? What's the point? Is this an epilogue?
Christ.
Why? What more story do you want to tell? You know, like I just was like, I couldn't believe it. I mean, I let it run because I assumed there would be one based on the second movie having one that I thought was really stupid. But this one, I just was like, I honestly didn't even think critically about it until just now as you're talking about it, because I just was like shocked it even existed.
Yeah.
But I don't know, because this is so far into the future, right? Not deeply into the future, but like, well, the character at the end, I think, is supposed to be Mayana, right? As an old woman or something.
Oh, is it? I don't, well, you know, I guess so.
So sure. I'm assuming that means that this ritual has existed for a long time and is now just a deep part of their culture, which I personally don't think, I personally am not taking that as like a win, you know?
They're a culture without hate, Doug. The world saved.
This feels like a religious ritual, and I don't know that this movie trilogy has endorsed religion.
What has it endorsed though? Nothing. It is endorsed like, might as well.
Right.
I feel like the thing that's endorsed is like, just lay down and die, I guess. Like, I feel like I'm doing my best here to find something, but like, I think the Hotu at one point talk about their whole philosophy is like, I don't remember exactly how it's explained, but I think it kind of comes down to the idea that it's just like, life's just about survival, and like, you either win or you lose. You either survive or you die, which I think is a horrendous way to like live life. Honestly, like, you can live,
I think,
be better, improved.
I think it can be. I think it can also be presented because I wouldn't accept that 100%, but I do think it can be presented as the type of thing where it is like nature is right, like we are part of nature. It's sort of like people who feel really strongly that like, well, it's like a circle of life shit. It could be that sort of thing,
or even I think you can interpret that in an optimistic nihilism kind of way, where it's just like
totally.
At the end of the day, you either live or you die.
So live while you're doing it. Yeah.
What matters is what you do in between those two things. Yeah, right. I would love to interpret it that way, but I do think the movie is presenting it
to believe that this movie is presenting that.
I think the movie is more presenting it that sort of like, stop worrying about shit. Surviving is all that matters. That's what I think is a miserable way to, live life. Because then it's like, then what the fuck are you alive for if you're not doing anything but just surviving?
If that's what it's trying to present, I think it fails to do that. Like, I don't even think it does a good job at that, because I think it confuses it with the idea of how they view Godzilla, right? Like the reason they don't hate Godzilla, or they don't,
right?
Not the reason they don't hate Godzilla, but the way that they treat Godzilla is a natural force, right? Which I don't know. I don't know. I don't even think it succeeds at doing that, as presenting it as like nothing matters, so just survive.
Yeah. It's just, I think it's so fucking frustrating is that like there's so many ideas that get thrown out in this movie, in all three of these movies, but then I'm like, I think they all kind of conflict with each other, actually.
I think that without this third movie, I will maintain that I think the second movie, I don't think the filmmakers intended for this based on having seen all three of them now, but I will maintain that the second movie has something in there about Haruo's own extreme desire to do something at all costs, and then sees something that horrifies him enough into questioning that. I will maintain that there is something there that could have been a story and could have had value if it was told with that intention. It's impossible to maintain that like fully, knowing that this third movie exists and absolutely does not like endorse that as the sort of like message of this movie, that Haruo is actually interrogating his own extreme desires to destroy Godzilla,
Yeah.
That's what this could have been. That's what this whole trilogy could have been, is this interrogation of, like single focused extreme, going to extreme lengths at the cost of everything. Like, that's a good thing to interrogate. And honestly, a Godzilla movie is a perfect movie to interrogate that, because you are presented with an impossible problem.
Absolutely. What would you say? I guess we've probably already talked around this or talked about it, but like, if you were to try to distill Haruo's arc over these three movies, like what is the arc?
Well,
like what?
I mean, there's plenty of stuff. The problem is there's plenty of stuff that gets in the way of any sort of like cohesive arc. But I think what it could be is that you have this character who at the beginning will go to any extreme length, has a single focus to destroy Godzilla, and that is like putting humanity in danger. We see that several times, that Haruo has put humanity in danger because of his single focus on destroying Godzilla. Even when he says it is to reclaim Earth, we realize, no, you still just want to kill Godzilla. He then sees that his singular focus is like affecting one of his friends, who is then presented with this culture who goes even further than him. And he sees like, oh shit, like they're going even further, which is making me reflect on what I've been doing. And now that I'm reflecting on what I've been doing with the help of my friend, I'm realizing I've kind of fucked over my friend and killed her. Like, there's a thing there. So he's now at a point where he is like reflective and capable of introspection. And then in theory, his sort of final piece is realizing that because he can reflect and because he has the ability to be introspective, he's able to look at the hate, this like hatred, right? Because like it's a cool story to have a character that has to sort of deal with and unpack and acknowledge and address like their own hatred and how they're motivated by that. You get this manifestation of this cosmic horror that, is made possible through his hate.
Right.
There is an arc all the way through there but it simply has to end with him not being hateful. like he has to, for it to work, he has to get to a point. Well, I would argue that for it to work, he has to get to a point where he has unpacked that and is trying to do the opposite, right? And his actions are preventing a new portal from opening or affecting other people in negative ways. Obviously, the filmmaker would argue, no, another option is for him to go through all that introspection, realize that his hatred was the problem all along, that is an innate piece of himself, and so he should just remove himself from people's lives, the planet, his community, like just completely remove himself.
Yeah. The fact that he doesn't even just like be like, well, I guess I'll go, into the woods and live alone, like isolated. The fact that he's just like, I have to be completely like vaporized by atomic breath. It's just like so absurd. And remember, he's a fucking child. He's just like leaving his family behind.
Yeah.
Didn't say bye to him. It seems like it's just
like,
yeah. Well,
by the time
and
we
I
get
think
to the end of this, why should we believe that Haruo even cares about the fact that he's brought a cosmic horror, like planet-eating horror into the universe?
I know, right? Well, and it's all
like, why should we believe that he cares? He did that.
I have a hard time not going back to just like everything you said about like, oh yeah, it would make sense for like that arc to kind of lead to him sort of overcoming that hatred or something. But that would be predictable, Doug, and we're subverting expectations. Like, I really feel like a lot of this stuff is just sort of like, but you wouldn't see that coming. You thought this was going to be a happy ending. It's not, because we're different.
Guess
we're
what?
subverting expectations. That's what good writing is, right?
Doing the opposite solely because people expect it is boring. It is as predictable as doing the predictable thing.
It's
not
really,
a hot,
it's either
spicy
that.
take. It is just, it's sort of like sitting there being like, I'm not going to let this person control me anymore, so I'm not going to do the thing that we used to do. And it's
Right.
like they're still controlling you. Like you're still allowing their presence into your life, and you're still allowing them to influence you. Like it's sort of similar to that, right? Where it's like I'm never going to do the thing you could possibly predict. I'm never going to do the thing you think I'm going to do. So it's like, okay, so I can reliably expect you to do the opposite then, which is just as predictable as before.
It's just like my only explanation. It's either that or it's just a movie made by people with hate in their hearts. Like it's one of those two things, or both, maybe. I don't know.
I don't know. Yeah, I mean, does it primarily fall on the person who wrote that? I mean, there are many factors. I'm not trying to put this all on one person, and I think there are probably people along the way who I would not put in that same category, but who maybe were too passive, or maybe who weren't like in a position to, or took the position to challenge enough. I don't know, right? There's plenty of factors. I don't think you end up with this full trilogy without the effort of many people working together. But like, is the actual sort of what we are pulling away from this, is that just like storytelling? Is that the ultimate problem?
That it is, because I think there's a lot of complaints that I have about like Shizuno, interacting and being like, I don't know, Godzilla, take this out. This seems like dork stuff. And Seshida just sort of like letting them do whatever, right? And
right.
really
He's a beautiful, perfect man, but also he should probably like stand up for Godzilla a little bit.
Right. And obviously there's all speculation. We're just reading into interviews and stuff like that, right?
Somebody needed to stand up for Godzilla, and you would expect it to be him.
But between those two, I think that has a lot to do with like the sort of iconography and the use of monsters and how boring these movies are pacing wise and stuff like that. I think a lot of that comes down on them. I do think that probably a lot of the story does go down to Urobuchi. And it's not to say obviously that like other people didn't have storytelling influence, but based on the fact that he literally has
a nickname,
he literally has the butcher nickname. It is a thing that people associate with him as being very nihilistic and misanthropic in his stories. I do kind of feel like that kind of comes from him. And maybe I haven't engaged with other stuff that he's done. So like maybe everything's like that. Maybe everything's like this. Maybe he just wasn't the right person for this movie. I don't know. But I do think that maybe that whole vibe, I think makes sense to be attributed to him.
Mm-hmm. Not for me.
Yeah.
Which is a bummer. I
would agree.
There are still things. There are still things I'll think about. There are still things from the second movie in particular that I think are cool. This trilogy as a whole, and this movie in particular, not for me.
think I like the Godzilla design. I think it's still going to be my favorite thing to come out of this movie.
I think that makes sense.
But I am mad at myself for putting this on in November, the month of Godzilla's birthday. But I am also glad that it's over with.
It's Thanksgiving, and we are more thankful than ever for all of our favorite Godzilla stories. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, and all of our listeners for sticking through this trilogy of podcasts.
Yeah.
I'm very curious how these are gonna go, because as of this recording, like, none of the episodes are released yet. We're recording these very rapidly. So I am very curious of how people are going to respond to these.
Look, I am always open to people who are willing to do like critique that I'm not seeing and present it to me, right? If you are a defender of these movies and you're like, you are not seeing this element of it, you are not seeing this piece of it, and I think here's a way you can present it, I'm open to hearing it. But it's got to be that, you know? It can't just be like, no, actually these movies are fucking rad. Like,
yeah, well,
I'll listen if you've got something, you know?
Yeah, I don't know. If you just tell me that, like, I love them, they're great. Like, do you hate women? I don't know. But
because I do think we managed to pull out threads and themes.
Sure.
And, like, I think we still did the thing that we do.
Yes. But it makes it extra frustrating when you find the cool shit in the, you know, and it's not deployed in the way you want it to be, or it's like in the midst of just like some really horrendous, like mean-spirited, cruel stuff around it, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know, man.
What Godzilla movie will you be watching to cleanse your palate
oh God,
tonight?
That's a great
Derek?
question. Jesus Christ. Truly, and you know what's I fucking think, God, I think way back, I think I called Raids Again like my least favorite Godzilla movie.
Ooh.
What a ridiculous thing for me to say.
Well, because I you know, like it made sense.
I just wasn't even
production
thinking,
standpoint, and sort of like
I wasn't even thinking about these movies, and I
Yeah.
hadn't seen the third one, which I maybe probably would have also colored my conversation. But I think I was just sort of like, well, you know, there's like obviously it being animated automatically makes it really interesting. But I'm like, God, I will take fucking Raids Again any day of my life over rewatching this fucking trilogy ever again. Truly not. It is very rare for me to be like, I will never watch a movie ever again, but I could not see myself ever watching these ever again, except maybe some like clips of Godzilla if I want to like draw him or something, you know?
Yeah. I don't know. I can't make any
just
promises
like unpleasant,
either way. I have no idea.
An unpleasant experience. Just an unpleasant experience at the best.
I could see myself wanting to watch certain pieces of it for like creature designs or for, you know, certain very specific things. But I can't imagine a scenario where I sit down and watch any one of these three movies all like from beginning to end.
Yeah.
Because I will love to look at that beautiful animation. You know what I'm saying?
Sure. That is a great question of like, what's a good palate cleanser movie to this one? Probably one with Mothra actually in it.
Oh, that's a good choice. I think like a Godzilla versus King Ghidorah might be a decent
that's fun
cleanser,
movie.
you know?
No, you know what? I'm Mecha Godzilla 2 and I'm going to hang out with Baby Godzilla. That's what I'm going to do.
There you go.
That's what I'm going to do. Well, coming up, Christmas with Kong is what we have next, because December,
I'm excited.
we're going to go back to the Monsterverse. Another, like, you know, a lot of people don't like the Monsterverse, but I'm like,
baby,
what a breath of fresh air the Monsterverse is going to be. Because next month we've got two movies. We're going to do Kong Skull Island and then Godzilla versus Kong. That makes predictions a little bit weird because you haven't seen Godzilla versus Kong,
right.
But we will do predictions for that one, you know, next month. In the next episode, you have seen Kong Skull Island.
I have.
So I don't know that I can really ask you anything. Do you remember the movie pretty well because you watched it relatively recently?
I remember. Yeah, I recall quite a bit from that movie. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't really have any questions from it. Do you think you'll have any new perspectives on anything after having done more of the podcast, though?
I'm not sure. I mean, it's weird because that movie being part of the Monsterverse serves like a pretty specific purpose, but is also like removed from the timeline we're watching. Not removed from the timeline, but it is not like in it's a prequel, you know?
Yeah, sure.
So yeah, I'm not really sure. I don't know. I mean, I have not watched it with any sort of critical lens. So like I think if nothing else, like maybe I'll walk away being like, oh, this movie actually has something to say, which I've never really considered before.
Yeah, I'm very excited to rewatch it because I remember liking it a lot.
I like it, yeah.
But I don't know. I can't think of the last time that I maybe have only seen it the one time actually, but I really liked it, so I'm excited to watch it.
Yeah, me too.
That's all I got. We'll be thankful to be there and thankful to be out of this. I don't know, Doug. If people want to find you and talk to you about, maybe don't talk to me about this movie. They can talk to you if you want them to.
If you want to have a genuine conversation about it and not just tell me I'm wrong and I suck, you are welcome to find me all over the place at Ickeybooley, ICKYBOOLEY. You know, we'll see if anybody takes me up on that, but you can also listen to me on a podcast called Novel Gaming, where my friend Katie and I catch up on all the books, video games, and sometimes other media we've been enjoying lately. Derek and I have a weekly podcast called Walloping Web Snappers, where we deep dive into every Spider-Man cartoon ever made. We also have a podcast called Falling with Style, which is sort of the precursor to this one, where we watched every Pixar movie ever made, and then have caught up. So we've done some other animation stuff. We did a couple DreamWorks things. We did a mini series focusing on like queerness and other family media because Pixar won't do it. And we'll be back on that feed for Hoppers pretty soon. So check that out. What about you, Derek?
Sure. You can not ever mention this movie to me ever on my social media.
Which means don't email about it because I can't read the email.
Oh, that's true. Well,
or put this is about the anime trilogy. It's for Doug.
Yeah, and I'll just forward it right to Doug. No, I'm not that. You can talk to me at the fucking movies we covered. It's fine. I'm just being stupid. But also, I want to be done with these. You can find me most places at Derek B. Gale. My other podcasts, other than what Doug mentioned, include Lee Carvalho's Potting Challenge, where we look at the Simpsons tie-in video games. Our episode on Hit and Run should have come out, at least part one of it. We're going to do two-parter on that one because it's a big game. Our part one on Hit and Run should already be out now. And my other podcast is Gimmicks, where we look at high concept experimental episodes of television. If you'd like to find other queer creators who talk about media, you can check out the Glitterjaw Queer Podcast Collective at glitterjaw.com. Follow it on Blue Sky at Glitterjaw and Instagram at GlitterjawPods. And if you want to support everything Doug and I do together, check out our Patreon at patreon.com/wallopingwebsnappers. That's the name of our Spider-Man podcast, but it supports everything we do together. And we do often do drops of Godzilla bonus episodes or Godzilla related bonus episodes. I feel like we've chatted behind the scenes about maybe doing Gamera Rebirth potentially.
Yes.
So maybe no promises,
no,
but I kind of feel
like
like
a surprise drop. We'll see.
We'll see. We might do that. But if not that, plenty of other Godzilla-related stuff and just other fun stuff Doug and I do together. Check out our Discord if you want to connect with us. There's a link to that in the show notes. You can email us at screwonpodcast@gmail.com. Rate, review, and subscribe on our podcast platforms. And December 13th, join us for Kong Skull Island.
Genuinely can't wait. Very excited.
Yes. See you then. Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving. Be thankful for your favorite Godzilla movie.
Yes.
Bye.
I was a kid.